This message is for people who were meant to see this video. So if you were not meant to see this video, then keep scrolling.
Blinded by the light.
Revved up like a deuce. Okay? For all you perverts out there, it's deuce, which is a car. So read a book. If you haven't read a book, I recommend The Pocket Book of Positives. And why don't we break the ice here with a quote that I love? And it is timely. The only human institution which rejects progress is the cemetery. We can thank Harold Wilson for that. And we might as well get the book of the day out of the way, which is one of my personal favorites, Grey's Anatomy. Let's flip to a random page, shall we? Oh, the nasal branches. Very fascinating. I like to play this game sometimes where I want to see what the universe wants me to know. And so I'll take a book off the shelf and I'll open to a random page, and whatever is on the page, I'm like, depending on my mood, I'm like, this might be a message that I need to see. So I feel attacked. Just kidding. So funny enough, I was just watching the movie Interstellar. Interstellar so far since I paused it. I have been laughing because it's kind of like it caused my system to misfire. I don't take kindly to that. Cool movie. Why don't we dive into movies before we get into the... We've all gathered here today, dearly beloved, to talk about movies that have made us cry. Paul Walker, Huskies. So, Wildcard Tearjerker, definitely 8 Below, a movie featuring Paul Walker. One of his best works, in my opinion. And I cried in theaters multiple times at that movie, which I thought I was just going into another Disney classic. Didn't know I would need time to recover. And then the next movie, which affected me at a level that I did not expect it to, going into it, was Million Dollar Baby. It's a funny story about that. My whole family went to see Million Dollar Baby, and oh my, Million Dollar Baby, not a funny movie, not one I would recommend to see with young children. Okay? Because it's a lot to process. Again, my little sister and my mom, they had to leave the theater. I stuck it out and cried on the way home. It was just like, it's one of those movies that just sticks with you. And let me just say, nothing against Lady Gaga on this, because I stan Gaga. Now, do I have my critiques of her latest video and how she worked with Apple and how I would have preferred it to have been an Apple ad that I discovered was an Apple ad on my own, as opposed to discovering that her video was an Apple ad before I'd seen the music video? Yes. Does that affect how I feel about her overall? No. So, Gaga in the movie A Star is Born, The Good Things Are, great first dive into the deeps of acting. I did not find her performance to be shallow whatsoever. Now, What was my expectation going into the movie? Well, I was on a plane alone, so all of the factors for a good cry were there. And people have been like, "Oh man, you're gonna cry." And specifically, what got me interested in it was Jenny McCarthy Jenny McCarthy sent Donnie Wahlberg that video message um, after the polar vortex, and she was crying, and then he posted it on Instagram, and it was hilarious. I was like, I need to see this when I get the chance. Many moons later, I got the chance, and I gotta say, Lady Gaga's acting was very good. I don't have any negative things to say about that. She did a great job. Bradley Cooper killed it. But the storyline, I don't know. It didn't it didn't like it didn't like grab my soul and rip it apart or anything. So I appreciated the visual metaphors, which sort of foreshadowed the ultimate ending throughout. I appreciated that. I wish there were more of those. Um, as an audience member watching a movie, I don't like to be spoon fed things. That's why I kind of like movies that you can watch a bunch of times and always see something new about it. So it's like at a basic level, plot is, but you realize the more you see it that um it's like deeper. I didn't get that from A Star Is Born, but it's not because of the acting. Anyway, Eight Below. If you do watch Eight Below, get the Kleenex. Not sponsored. But we're gonna dive into the depths of what we wanted to talk about. So, what's going on in the world? This message is for people who were meant to see this video. So if you were not meant to see this video, then keep scrolling. Okay, what are we doing here? Okay, I'm not going to be insensitive. Yeah, this virus is pissing me off because it's just like. Do you guys know what a foil is? In Shakespeare, there's a character device that he used in his works, and that was the character device of a foil. And what a foil is basically like a character whose sole function is ultimately to reveal the character traits of another character. So if a character is extra conniving or evil, it's not always about that character. It could actually, if that character is serving the purpose of a foil, be that his primary purpose is to reveal to consumers of the story that the other character is actually good. And this virus is really a foil, in essence, as the pillars of this modern facade crumble. And as people continue to be overcome by fear and anxiety, and unfortunately, even death, it becomes more and more clear that this virus is a foil for us to be able to see where our priorities really lie. It's been a foil that has enabled me to see, wow, who is in this for the right reasons, and what are the right reasons? Is shameless self-promotion and ignoring things that are eminently important most important? No. It's not about self-aggrandizement at a time like this. It's not about skirting around the big issue at a time like this. At a time like this, what you would expect to see, if you were me at least, would be a few good men and women stepping up with solutions. Because look, I can turn the corner and find a complainer, but I've been turning every digital corner there is to turn, and I don't see any solutions. I don't see any systems for solution gathering. I don't see anybody with a big platform saying, here are the solutions. Now, I will say, Logan Paul came out with masks. Great. I appreciate your approach. I see what you did there. That's good. Nobody else, to be honest, has said anything of substance, has put anything out there of substance. And I accept the possibility that I'm missing those people. It could be that my filter bubble is determined to make me disappointed in the state of humanity. Well, if I am missing something, please forward me the people that are putting solutions out there, because I would love to hear them. I have solutions of my own, and I would like to get into them. Well, one of them. One of my solutions is a digital solution. Another one of my solutions is a physical solution. It's an invention for the public health space that bridges a gap and satisfies multiple need points. And I am in the process of trying to file for a fast track patent of this invention, because it's my intellectual property, and Edisonian motherfuckers, well, don't say motherfuckers, but it's not about me. Yeah, this digital solution, if you simplify it as much as possible, it's a feedback loop, and it involves putting complex things, complex terminology, in this case it would be medical terminology, into layman's terms and putting it in an online forum, and then reaching out to the average person with this complex thing worded in layman's terms, and saying, what do you guys think? These people in power are not giving us many specifics, and yeah, it's concerning that we don't really know, and that we're just expected to indefinitely shelter in place. And I'm like, I go to CNN and they're like, oh, Jared Kushner's spine chilling, I think was the headline. So I'm like, okay, what's Jared Kushner's spine chilling new position, right? And I go to the article, and there's a video at the top, and this is on my phone. And I click the video, and what's the video? It's content not related to the headline. And I'm like, you know what?
They're not evolving, and it's very depressing. And
I no longer give a crap about your overstatement. I was going to entertain it until you clickbaited me, you know? I'm just like, this is just more of the same, and it's not just CNN. Fox News is still doing it too. The video at the top on the Apple feed news, probably Android as well. The videos at the tops of the articles are completely different subject matter from the articles themselves. If there were not a pandemic going around, it would be a different story. if you are clickbaiting people over this, you are engaging in journalistic malpractice and you should resign. Hey, you. Putting a video at the top of an article that's not related to the article, now's not the time. And if you insist on doing that, you're going to continue to be called out and you should just step down if you're not going to change, because people need the news. And at a time like this, also, the Apple Plus News section where you have to pay for it, if it's about the coronavirus, don't lock it up behind a paywall. It's like, stop being so self-serving, okay? This is not the time. Do these people want me to freak out? Because I'm not going to give you that. I'm not going to freak out. I'm just going to let you continue to carry on with more of the same, and then let you observe, as we all will, your ultimate demise, which will be perpetuated primarily by you. And boiled down to it, you could chalk that one up to your refusal to change. Everybody wants to say, oh, millennials are so selfish. Bro, I got news for you. It's everybody. You think the dude in Don Lemon's earpiece is a millennial? I seriously doubt it. But he's just leading the charge with these attacks, telling Don Lemon to say, oh, the real leaders are who you need to listen to. It's like, well, fucking Don Lemon, are you a real leader, sir? Because I haven't heard one solution out of your mouth, one solution out of anybody's. I prayed on it. I received the light that it's going to be an everyday person who changes this. And I just wanted to let you guys know that because in case you didn't notice, everybody almost in power isn't doing shit. So that is the news from the higher power. More of the same is not going to work right now. So let's launch into why that's not going to work right now. Well, I was watching an interview, and I gotta say, if I was someone other than myself, I probably would have clicked off of it, but being me, I'm like, Coco, you need to hear this. You need to just stick it out. And I did, and I learned a lot. And I had a visceral reaction, and I got that out of the way, and then I thought about it. And this was an interview with an accoladed, credentialed academic and mathematician. I don't want to preface this too much, but I know the person I'm talking about knows that I'm talking about them most likely. And I'm just pushing back because I want to challenge you to be better, because I do believe in some of the things that you said. I just can make you fix your words, like a typo suggestion. Here's the problem that I found in this interview. This is a person who has a lot to say and a lot of new groundbreaking ideas. But I think that the audience members may have tuned them out or not taken them as seriously because of frivolous word choice and the engagement of buzz phrases. The buzz phrase that I found specifically jarring, they said, "This is the moment for heads on pikes." ... And I'm paraphrasing, it's not a vengeance, quote, thing. Quote, revolution, and other words. So, first of all, what do you think of when you think of heads on pikes, heads on spikes? What is that at its core? Medieval. Second of all, rooted in things synonymous with vengeance and aggressive shows of force. And I don't associate things that are medieval with the type of modern revolution that we need right now in the world. So that kind of was a cannonball in your credibility in my eyes. I probably wouldn't have used those words and wouldn't use them again moving forward. Just because heads on pikes is a vengeful thing, and it's not a revolutionary thing, and doesn't seem like any of your ancestors experienced that, because you probably wouldn't say that it's a time for heads on pikes if you knew how that worked out for people. Not well. Didn't necessarily stick out in history to me as a way to fast track our way to forward facing solutions. So, just saying, I get it. It was a long interview. We're emotional people, but put it through a filter a little bit. I'm an emotional being, but I have a discretion setting, and it's on. Basically, now is not the time for the perpetuation of non imperatives. And what I mean by that, I've decided on behalf of mankind, and please share this if you agree, that we are going to skip the part where we demand apologies from people who we perceive to have been wrong. If they're ultimately wrong, it's going to take time probably for them to come to terms with the fact that they were wrong, and then for them to build up the courage to be like, you know what, I should apologize. And no matter how much you want to demand that someone apologize, you are not going to get far if your prerequisite for moving forward toward a solution is having everyone who's done wrong in your eyes in recent times step up and apologize, because that's not something that exists at the time that you demand it. Doesn't mean it can exist at the time you demand it, if that makes sense. And I get it. It's frustrating when there's not a clear-cut equation for something, but we are human beings. We are not math problems, and that's kind of the beauty of life. This undefinable consciousness that we possess, and the relativity of time combined, with so many things being quantifiable, it's almost like the biggest point of perplexation, that we would have this free will and this ability to come to Jesus, so to speak, which everyone's timeline is different for that. And the fact of the matter is that we need solutions now. Let's all agree that for time's sake and for solution's sake, that we're just going to skip the part where we demand everyone to apologize for what we thought they did wrong. Let's just move on from that. And one more thing, people with big platforms, now's not the time for self-aggrandizement. It's like, dude, you seem really self-centered, and I'll tell you, from the bottom out here, dude, there's a trickle-down effect. It ain't good. It ain't good. We got people with their heads so far up their own asses that they're in complete darkness. And we need that to change. Otherwise, we're never gonna make it to the wormhole, dude. Proverbial or literal. You need to be demanding solutions, because if you don't, people are going to slowly lose their minds. And what happens when you lose your mind? Well, depending on where you are, you can be carted off to the wing of the East Jabip mental hospital and then become a human lab rat. And no one wants to get in that situation. And in the absence of people talking about how to actually cope with mental health struggles at a significant scale, loud enough for the masses to hear, we need to full throttle toward a solution that gets us out of quarantine so people can go back to hot yoga and go back to group therapy and go back to their normal lives, because this quarantine thing, people are going to start being carted off to the psych wards, and it is hard to get respect in those things, someone said. Also, when referring to people with Asperger's syndrome, I would not say Aspie. Just because, yeah, it sounds cute, but also it could be offensive to people, and I don't think they would appreciate your abbreviation. Okay? It's one thing to categorize people, which is offensive in itself, um, depending on the category that they're put in. But to then abbreviate their categorical label into something short and pithy, it just it's like a stain on your record. Anyway, where were we? Happy day. I want to share something with you that my mentor shared with me. And my mentor's name is Jeremy, at Jeremy. He's a great guy, wise beyond his years, really good at reading books, excellent taste in books. And he's funny too. He's like one of those smart, funny people, which I'm here for that all day. On this planet and the next. He basically said that at a time like this, people promoting expansion and people promoting positivity, like I'm trying to do, he basically said it's not going to be a frictionless experience. And I'm paraphrasing. He didn't use the word frictionless, but it's a funny word. Yeah, he basically said that we need to choose to not be consumed in fear and choose to not give in to the resistance. He said, don't give in to the friction that you're going to experience when promoting expansion in this time of fear, because fear projection, rage, and hate projection are running amok among common men and women and other. And I, for one, like Jeremy, am choosing a different path, because I am not going to just sit here in the quagmire of loathing that that other people insist on festering in. I'm just simply not going to entertain that as my future. The general public right now has a horrible mental frame that they're projecting onto anybody that says to do something positive during a time of contraction. Well, you know what? Don't be like that, okay? If you're still watching this, there's another way, okay? There are moments of gray that pepper our day, and it's going to happen on a daily basis, some days more than others, but don't lose sight when the fog of negativity comes into your mental frame. Just really try to dig deep and remind yourself that it's temporary and that ultimately it is a choice. So choose not to entertain it. Yeah, so I tried to make a rap song. I do not have a future as a rapper, I don't think. I could be a rap song writer because I have been doing the education. I've been doing the education and for a long time. So yes, I did get my bachelor's degree, but I got my master's from the University of the Hard Knocks. Okay? Got my doctorate from the University of the Hard Knocks doctorate program. I graduated valedictorian. Hey.
Top of the class.
Cannot wait to finish. Oh, we have sponsors. Today's podcast is brought to you by Darwinism, the natural selection for all your lineage needs. It's not luck, it's science. Darwinism. Exclusions apply. Also, by the new rocking chair company, Halfway Crooks. Get rocked steady, Halfway Crooks. And we took a poll and we asked you guys which song in all of music incorporates the ad lib "Take 'em to church" the best. And the survey says
"Never Let Me Down"
by Kanye West with many votes. Many votes. And now a word from my grandfather. He said, if you have a bull in a china shop, you don't drive a bulldozer through it. Because then everything will be destroyed. Okay? And the moral of that quotable, which is epic, is that we need to temper the reaction. So anyone calling for division or obliteration of an opposing side, just know that those are the bulldozer people. Just ask the universe to point you in the direction of a solution. Okay? Get on that frequency. Raise your mental vibration to attract solutions. Because you don't want to be on this static medieval frequency of partisan finger pointing and blame gaming. Chloe Mitchell. You know, even if you are agnostic or whatever, that's cool. I get it. I get why someone might feel that way, and even if I don't know your specific circumstances, I don't judge someone. If people want to base every decision they make off of their higher power, I mean, they should have the right to do that without being hyper criticized, just like if someone's every decision is not motivated by their higher power, that is equally their right to choose. And so I'm not someone who's going to sit here and be like, oh, well, first, in order to get on my wavelength, you have to be X, Y, and Z. No, this is a wavelength that welcomes everyone. So welcome. Check out the drip. Check out the drip, bro. What you know about that drip? Can you handle the drip? You can't. Or can you handle this? Can you handle this? And I think that about wraps it up. I'm not sure if I have anything left to say. I was going to incorporate some of my rap song lines into this, but honestly, fuck you.